Ladies and gentlemen, I need to forewarn you guys with this story. I'm going to give you guys some details that are not going to sit with your sensibilities, especially with what happened to this little child. And this was dad's girlfriend. A lot of times we talk about the narrative on the other end, where it's usually mom's boyfriend that ends up doing some heinous things. So the situation is flipped in this case. But some of the pictures are going to depict some of the abuse that this boy went through. So you're going to need to bear with that. But that is your disclaimer. If you're here, then you're here on your own volition. Dad's girlfriend by the name of Leslie Jett, and her name is spelled a little odd. Leslie is spelled Lesli. That's how I was able to find it. Jett, Jett, like Joan Jett. But listen Friday as the judge pronounced her fate for the brutal murder of this little boy that you guys see on my screen. Let me see if I can show you a happy picture of this baby right here. That was 4-year-old Tate Thurman. Very innocent little boy, beautiful baby boy. I just don't understand how you can look at a face like this and think to do something mean, think to raise your voice. How could you think to raise your hand? How could you think about being angry when you see a face like that? I just don't get it. And I just think that some people are not right in their heart. Their hearts are in the wrong places. And these people don't need to be around children. As parents, as custodial parents, mothers and fathers, we have to do better, because I've told you guys, nobody's going to love your children the way that you love your children. And I'm sorry, I know that there's some people that disagree with my statement, but I'm going to stand by it. That love is special. It is unique. It comes from you and only because of you. Something that you created and brought into this world. Nobody's going to see or feel in here about what you create other than you. She is being sent to prison for 75 years. So let me explain. By that statute, give me a moment. Why do these ads do this? That is so irritating. Sorry about that. So by that statute, the 35-year-old woman must serve 100% of her sentence. That's actually very different. I haven't heard that in a long time. I've heard serving 80%, but whatever. This is good. Even with credit for about 18 months already spent in jail, she would not walk out of prison until becoming a centenarian. 100 years old, 100 plus. The fact that she is not showing any level of remorse doesn't necessarily help here today. And that's according to Tazewell County Circuit Judge Paul, Gilfillan, very hard name to pronounce. But anyway, let's keep going. I don't know why I'm losing my web pages here. Hold on, y'all. All right, here we go. Throughout the 5-hour hearing, as prosecutors and witnesses portrayed Jett as a selfish drug addict who despised the little boy, Tate, the son of her live-in boyfriend, Jett sat unwavering at the defense table, clad in a county jail jumpsuit, striped in black and white, and she broke only once as prosecution discussed the 260 bruises, contusions, abrasions detailed in lad's autopsy. 260. I must probably say some things about the dad too, but I'm going to hold that. Let's keep going. Jett yelped unintelligibly, pulled off her pandemic-mandated mask, and wiped tears from her face. The judge admonished her to refrain from outbursts with the reminder that she would be allowed to address the court before the sentencing. She nodded in understanding, but she did not follow on that opportunity. Jett, who has maintained her innocence since the boy's death, decided at the last minute Friday not to offer an allocution, in the courtroom. Instead, she submitted a letter to the court, which the judge read, but aside from the reference to her lack of contrition for the slaying, did not reveal its contents. In the summer of 2019, Jet, though married, took her 2-year-old son and moved into East Peoria home of Jeremy Thurman, who was the biological father, and his 2 sons. On the morning of February 18th of 2020, Tate's 7-year-old brother left home to board a school bus. For an hour, Jet was alone with Thurman Tate before making a panic-laced 911 call. Paramedics took the boy to Peoria Hospital, where the physician found Tate with no pulse or breathing. 2 surgeries failed to revive the boy. 2 days later, he was pronounced brain dead and taken off life support. Jet was arrested shortly thereafter and held under a $3 million bond. At the end of the 2-week trial in July, a Tazewell County jury deliberated 80 minutes before finding Jet guilty of first-degree murder with the intent to kill or cause great bodily harm to a child under the age of 12, and the same crime, knowing her acts bore the strong probability of death or great harm. She was also convicted of aggravated battery to a child under the age of 12. Now, normally, the sentencing range for first-degree murder is 20 to 60 years. However, when the victim is under the age of 12, which is why I love that law, because they are so much younger, so much smaller, and and they are more defenseless, is what I'm trying to say. Children who are older in their teenage years stand a better chance to be able to defend themselves. And again, that's why I like this law, because it's very similar to what we do in Texas, because we have super aggravated child abuse laws to punish people who hurt the smallest of us and take advantage of them. The victim is under 12 years of age. The upper limit of the term becomes 100 years. Friday's Assistant State Attorney Mara Mishler and Sarah Schreier repeated trial allegations that pegged Jet as increasingly frustrated and angry over her homebound duties, especially those involving Tate and his inconsistent toilet training, potty training. I thought that's what children do. I thought that's what you're supposed to do as a parent. Am I wrong? You need to feed them, clothe them, bathe them, potty train them. They're babies. That's why some people don't need to be around kids or have kids. Hashtag TTO. We haven't used that one in a long time. But at the sentencing, they mostly pounded away with evidence, including her text messages to friends and testimony from cell phone and drug experts detailing Jet's 2-year drug addiction and that rendered her desperately callous and hateful. So she has a drug problem. Mishler at times, staring wide-eyed at Jet and almost spitting her words, said Jet became, why do they keep using words I can't pronounce? Enmeshed in buying, selling, and using Adderall and other prescription amphetamines. Jet would be high and awake all night and then tired and angry all day when she was supposed to care for the little boy. Resentful, Jet often would mock the boy as a baby for expressing joy at dinner time. Return home at dinner time. Return home of his father, Mishler said. Further, Jet would torment the youth, threatening to withhold toys and food if he failed to behave to her standards. The defendant is manipulative, dishonest, untrustworthy, parasitic, cold, self-centered, and cruel. Meantime, Friday, tape survivors described the agony rendered by Jet's actions, which left them ceaselessly grieving the loss of the child. Maternal grandfather Doug can't recall an engaging and energetic youth who loved to dance and laugh. And again, like I said, a little beautiful baby boy. Let me point something out. Even with that picture that you see on my screen, I need to put up a bigger picture. Give me a moment. Let me pull this up. I want y'all to see this. I took one of the pictures down because I wasn't even sure if it was the correct picture. Let me show you guys something. Can you guys take a look at this picture? And do you see anything wrong with this picture? Make it a little bit bigger so y'all can see that. Hopefully the lighting is okay. Do you guys see anything odd about this? Looks like he just celebrated his 4th birthday. Looks like he's alive. Looks like he's doing well. Here's why I want to call out the biological father. At this point, something is very, very wrong. That boy is very, very alive at this point. This relationship or whatever the freak was going on should have ended right then and there. You cannot tell me that he didn't see this prior, and you cannot tell me that he didn't have time to save his son. I don't understand why men and women choose to stay in these relationships when these people, and you have signs that you're just flat out ignoring. Flat out ignoring red flags just because you want to stay in a relationship with someone. That's insane. Clearly that boy is still alive and breathing. That was ignored. And to me, that's an unforgivable crime that should be punished with jail time. But let's keep going, because dad didn't get no jail time. Later on the stand, the boy's dad, Jeremy Thurman, gasped and sobbed as he recalled what seemed to be a happy household. I want y'all to bookmark that. He referred to it as a happy household. At night, he said, Jet seemed loving, an appearance he now calls false in light of evidence of repeated abuse when Thurman was at work weekdays. All the while, she was hiding malicious behavior. I have struggled to come to terms knowing I will never hear Tate say, Daddy, I love you. Moreover, Friday's testimony suggested Jet's neglect and abuse extended beyond Tate. Eugenia Small, maternal grandmother of Jet's son, said that the toddler came to live with her in the wake of Tate's death. She said the 2-year-old showed signs of nutritional, speech, and dental problems. Further, she said, we would recoil in fear whenever she would wipe his privates. What? Plus, she said, one morning he began to hit himself in the stomach, begging, Mom, stop, it hurts. Defense attorney Michael Brett and Hugh Toner submitted a 40 plus letters from Jet's friends and relatives who described her as kind and decent. This is why I dislike people who support people who are guilty of these crimes or accused of these crimes. These children were not beating themselves up. They were not jumping off of a bed and falling and hurting themselves. They didn't jump out a damn window. They weren't taking baseball bats and beating each other up. The only adult who was there was Jet, his girlfriend. But you have public support. You have family and friends and relatives who are going to be character witnesses. I'm sorry. Look, man, I'm going to be real honest with y'all, and I'm going to say something that's probably going to make some of y'all mad. I think that's total horse shit. Family, friends, I don't give a damn. If I find out that any of my family, my friends, my relatives hurt, murder, abuse children, sorry. I'm not going to come to your defense. I'm not going to speak up for you and talk about the good person you used to be. You're a damn drug addict who beats up and kills children. How would they have the gall to even think, I'm going to write a defense letter for her? You killed a little boy and were abusing other children. I'm sorry, that's just inexcusable. Those people need to check their morals. So I hope that they hear this. They're terrible people. Everybody who wrote a letter in defense of Dad's girlfriend are terrible people. Yes. Brandt told the judge that many prosecution allegations against Jett lack solid evidence, especially regarding attacks on Tate. He urged the judge to give heavy weight to the letters, which portrayed her as adoring of children. Here's another problem I have with Dad. When did you find out that your girlfriend was a drug addict? Inexcusable. If she's a drug addict while you were with her, that means she was a drug addict before you got with her. There's a possibility that she probably has that on her record. That's something you could do a Google search, do a background check, and find out. But that's not just something you wake up one day and decide, oh yeah, I'm going to do drugs. I'm going to be a druggie. That's a pattern type behavior. That's long-term behavior. So again, I'm pointing that out against the father. That just does not sit well with me. In the end, the judge saw the prosecution's picture clearer and truer. Beyond the murder, he took note of Jett's track record in failing the boy. She seemed to be a horrible pseudo-parent for Tate even before February 18, 2020 rolled around, he said. So let me give you guys the fair usage. I'm going to show you guys a couple of news videos. I think 2 of them are a few months ago and a couple of them are current. So here we go. Let's get it. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. Like I said, I know the parents and family and friends are not going to like that, but it's my honest opinion, and I'm entitled to my damn opinion. But if you guys would, do me a favor and please click that thumbs up. What it does is it helps share the stream and let more people know that we're live. So if you will look down and see how many people we have watching, that's how many thumbs up that we would like to have if we can get there. So if you'll just look down for a moment and share this baby boy's story, okay? Here we go.
Demolition began today on the Crystal Lake home where A.J. Friend suffered intense abuse that eventually led to his death.
Yeah, well, the story of that 5-year-old made national headlines. Some child advocates say another case, 4-year-old Tate Thurman, with eerie similarities, is unfolding right now in central Illinois. Only on 2, Chris Ty with the just released documents and questions they're generating.
Peel it all back. And the raw reality is it could happen again. In fact, it may already have.
DCFS let Tate down, and now he's dead.
10 months to the day after the call on A.J. Friend.
911, what's the address of your emergency?
A slip and fall call came from this home in East Peoria, Illinois. When it was over, Tate Thurman would be dead. He was the sheriff at Halloween, the little dude before bedtime. His 4th birthday party would be his last. Blunt force trauma, the coroner said, tears to his intestines, bruises from head to toe, brain dead at the hospital. His dad's live-in girlfriend charged with murder. The warning signs at this house, though, were around longer than Tate was.
Spans back 7 investigations over 9 years, including a dead child, a dead mother, drug overdose. This is all that they gave us.
Tonight, for the first time, the Department of Children and Family Services breaking down their history with the family. In 2011, before Tate was born, a newborn died at the home. DCFS saying it was an unsafe sleep environment. 7 DCFS investigations would start and stop over the next 6 years. His mom would lose guardianship several times before she died of a drug overdose in.
So they all do drugs. The mother died of a drug overdose, and they had several investigations. Is this the failure of the system? I think this is a failure of the parents. We can always blame it on the system, but that's pretty bad. 7 investigations over 6 years.
It was an unsafe sleep environment. 7 DCFS investigations would start and stop over the next 6 years. His mom would lose guardianship several times before she died of a drug overdose in 2017, when Tate and his sibling returned to the.
Why does she get several times to fail her children? She lost guardianship several times. Y'all catch that? Why would you give any human being multiple opportunities to fail their children? Time after time after time after time. Until eventually she died. Isn't that something?
It was an unsafe sleep environment. 7 DCFS investigations would start and stop over the next 6 years. His mom would lose guardianship several times before she died of a drug overdose in 2017, when Tate and his sibling returned to their father's care on a judge's order. DCFS, never required to check back in after that, never did, until 2 weeks ago when Tate's lifeless body was brought to the hospital for what family called a slip and fall. The only slip was this life falling through the cracks, child advocates say, a system chock full of them that they say failed at least these 2 boys.
If we have transparency and can compare what went wrong in Tate's case to what went wrong in AJ's case, we can hopefully move forward toward that reform.
So DCFS provided a very broad brush timeline of their encounters with Tate's family, but why were they called in so many times? What did they discover when they got there, and what?
They saw something and said something, and the system failed. The system they had in place failed these children. As much as I hate to say that, as much as I want to put the blame on the biological mom and biological father, which is where the core blame needs to be, the system also failed.
What action did they take when they left? All questions we continue to push for answers on. Live in
At the Tazewell County Courthouse, the Leslie Jett trial continuing today.
Jett accused of killing her boyfriend's 4-year-old son, Tate Thurman, back in February of last year.
Our Shabnam Dinesh is live outside the courtroom with the latest information. Shab?
Well, Shelby, Mark, Dr. Anthony Monaco conducted a CT scan and 2 surgeries on Tate's stomach. He said he found lots of injuries in the intestines, including an 8 to 10 inch tear in an area called the mesentery, an area he says is very difficult to hurt.
You need a very large force to be able to kind of disrupt that tissue. So similar such mechanism of injuries would be very high-speed motor vehicle collision with an improperly worn seatbelt.
And he estimates the injury couldn't have been caused more than 3 hours before surgery, and that Tate lost consciousness no more than 30 minutes after the bleeding started. He also said the child's spleen was intact, something that is usually not the case when falling down the stairs.
Let's go ahead and move forward. There is actually an interview with the dad in here. So if you guys want to hear from the dad, we're going to try to push through these next couple of videos, but he's in here. You're going to hear him speak.
A father's pain on full display.
And I agree. Somebody in the chat said, why does she get multiple chances to fail her kids? 2 completely different women. It's beyond me. That's a failure in the system.
As day 4 of the Leslie Jett trial wrapped up today at the Tazewell County Courthouse. Jett accused of killing her boyfriend's 4-year-old son, Tate Thurman, in February 2020. Today was a gut-wrenching and emotional day, as we heard from Tate's father, Jeremy Thurman.
That's the biological father right there.
He was at work in Champaign when he got the phone call that Tate was in the hospital. He says a coworker had to drive him because he was throwing up. At the hospital, he says Jett did not initially cry when she heard about Tate's prognosis.
The neurologist said that he didn't expect him to wake up.
Was the defendant with you when you got some of these updates?
She was specifically with me for that update.
Did you see her cry when you got these updates?
Not until I was very, very, very ill and crying.
I'm going to rewind this and let y'all hear this again. Is he really actually grieving? Possibly. But I don't know, man. Let's look at this again.
The neurologist said that he didn't expect him to wake up.
Was the defendant with you when you got some of these updates?
She was specifically with me for that update.
What the guys, I replayed this, and I know some of y'all hate that I replay the video. I don't care if some of y'all don't like it, but I do it for a damn reason. That's just how I get down. I need to make this bigger on my screen. Which video is this? Let me see. Let me see. 4-year-old. Let's see. Is this it? I need to put this on. I need to make this bigger on the screen. I need for y'all to be able to see this.
At the hospital, he says Jett did.
Well, thanks, Shelby. This as a slip,
Let me see if I can figure out which one it was.
Peoria, Illinois, charged with murder. Born a newborn died at the home. Never.
Well, thanks, Shelby. This morning in the Tazewell County.
Give me a moment, y'all. I need to figure out which video this is. I don't know why I only got a couple videos. Hold on. So it wasn't this one. It's not. Is it this one? Yep. Okay.
He was at work in Champaign when he got the phone call that Tate was in the hospital. When she heard.
Okay, here we go. I need to make this bigger on the screen. In memory of this little boy and my son who died 29 years ago today because of SIDS. Wow. Thank you, Mel. Thank you, Mel G. If you're listening, thank you for your super chat. I need y'all to hear this. Look at this again.
A father's pain on full display. Today was a gut-wrenching and emotional day, as we heard from Tate's father, Jeremy Thurman. He was at work in Champaign when he got the phone call that Tate was in the hospital. He says a coworker had to drive him because he was throwing up. At the hospital, he says Jett did not initially cry when she heard about Tate's prognosis.
The neurologist said that he didn't expect him to wake up.
Was the defendant with you when you got some of these updates?
She was specifically with me for that update.
Whoa! Guys, he flipped the switch. Could he possibly be on drugs himself? How does he go from that did look fake? Did it not? Come on, y'all. I'm going to turn the volume up just a little bit. I want to make sure y'all can hear this. Tell me this did not look fake. This is not cut. This is a full playthrough. Watch it. He goes from crying to talking normal. Watch.
The neurologist said that he didn't expect him to wake up.
Was the defendant with you when you got after some of these updates?
She was specifically with me for that update.
Do y'all see this?
That he didn't expect him to wake up.
Was the defendant with you when you got after some of these updates?
She was specifically with me for that update.
He went, oh my God. He went straight to normal. Right after breaking down immediately. That's not even cut. That's a full playthrough. That's not cut at all. Come on, y'all. Tell me that did not look fake. I'm sorry. And I want y'all to remember, put the baby boy first. I want y'all to remember that there are pictures of this baby boy with bruises all on his face and eyeballs. And they could have saved this boy. And I want y'all to remember that these children have been around abuse for years. Years and years. And drugs were involved with both women. Which is how he ended up getting custody of one or two of his kids.
The neurologist said that he didn't expect him to wake up.
Was the defendant with you when you got after some of these updates?
She was specifically with me for that update.
I'm so done with this. That is, come on, y'all. Tell me in the chat, did y'all not feel like that was fake? Seriously.
That he didn't expect him to wake up.
Was the defendant with you when you got after some of these updates?
She was specifically with me for that update.
Did you see her cry when you got these updates?
Not until I was very, very, very ill and crying.
No tears either. I'm sorry, that looked faker than a $3 bill.
And Tate never woke up. He died.
Well, thanks, Shelby. This morning, investigators shared that 4-year-old Tate Thurman died due to blunt force trauma. Around 4:30 yesterday afternoon, East Peoria police arrested 33-year-old Leslie Jett during a traffic stop at the Thorntons in Creve Coeur. East Peoria Police Chief Steve Rogie says Jett, which you can see on your screens, is the girlfriend of Tate's father. According to the Tazewell County State's Attorney, Jett originally described this as a slip and fall incident, but the Peoria County Coroner says
if y'all think that was fake, type it in the chat. Click that thumbs up. Type it in the chat if y'all felt like that was fake. If I were the judge, I would not have bought that at all. Something was wrong. I don't see how they didn't get him for charges for at least neglect for seeing those bruises in those pictures. Let me see if I can bring that up again real quick. Where is it at? Y'all see that? Bruising on the face. The little boy was very much alive at this point. So you mean to tell me that the father didn't know anything about this, away at work or not? Those bruises look like they've been healing up for days. Let's keep going.
abuse played a role in Thurman's death. Now, last week, medics responded to Thurman's East Peoria home on reports he was in cardiac arrest. He was covered in bruises, which is what prompted East Peoria police to start an investigation. The two other children in the home were placed in another safe environment. There is a funeral today for Tate Thurman. Jet is now facing first-degree murder charges as she sits in the Tazewell County Jail. That investigation is now in the hands of the Tazewell County State's Attorney Stu Umholtz. And now, Shelby, Stu Umholtz did say that he wants everybody to be aware of what they post to social media. He says there could be consequences for anyone who releases confidential juvenile information.
But first, a verdict announced this afternoon in the trial of Leslie Jett. That verdict not long after closing arguments today for the 35-year-old woman accused of beating her boyfriend's son, Tate Thurman, to death. Good evening, I'm Mark Welp. After just over 2 weeks, a jury found Leslie Jett guilty on 3 counts against her. That includes 2 counts of first-degree murder. Our camera recording as Jett reacted to the jury's decision.
We, the jury, find the defendant Leslie Jett guilty of first-degree murder - intent to kill or do great bodily harm as charged in count 1, signature line for the foreperson and the 11 other jurors. As to count 2, we, the jury, find the defendant Leslie Jett not guilty of first-degree murder - knowing act would cause death as charged in count 2, signature line for the foreperson and the 12 other jurors. As to count 3, we, the jury, find the defendant Leslie Jett guilty of first-degree murder - knowing strong probability of death, great bodily harm as charged in count 3, signature line for the foreperson and the 11 other jurors, all signed. And as to count 4, we, the jury, find the defendant Leslie Jett guilty of aggravated battery to a child - great bodily harm, also signed by all 12 jurors.
She looked like she don't care at all. No remorse. Somebody called it in the chat. Thank you.
A short time after, WYZZ was the first to speak with Jeremy Thurman, Tate's father. Here's what he had to say about the verdict.
I feel good that the jury reached the right verdict, I think. Thanks be to God. Glory to God. Thank you to the state for doing their due diligence and getting all the facts, not just some of the facts, all the facts, and getting the case right.
If I'm guessing wrong on this father, then I apologize, but I just don't feel like I'm wrong. I feel like there's something missing. The fact that there was this much abuse going on and this much drugs being taken, and he didn't know jack shit. I want to think that he's the victim and innocent in this, but I just don't think he is.
Bond has been set at $3 million for the East Peoria woman charged with killing 4-year-old Tate Thurman. Leslie Jett is charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of aggravated battery.
We do want to warn you, these details could be disturbing. Andy Weber was in court today and is joining us now live with the latest. Andy?
Bobby, Janice, in addition to bond being set, we also got a look at the affidavit that describes in graphic detail the wounds that were discovered on Tate Thurman's body when he was brought to OSF last week. The affidavit filed by the Tazewell County State's Attorney's Office is detailed. Tate Thurman died from blunt force abdominal trauma. In addition to internal bleeding, OSF doctors found extensive deep bruising of the abdominal wall and back, as well as a fracture of the collarbone. Doctors also found abrasions to Tate's scalp, face, neck, chest, genital area, buttocks, upper back, shoulders, and limbs. Bruising was also found on the scalp, neck, and torso. The document also provides more context on what happened on the day the boy was brought to the hospital. Leslie Jett originally told first responders that Tate slipped on water and fell on the floor and became immediately unresponsive. When he arrived at OSF, he immediately underwent emergency surgery for life-threatening injuries that included a large tear of the intestines. Tate never regained consciousness and died on February 20th. He was declared brain dead caused by internal bleeding. Jett's next day in court is set for March 13th. Right now, we're not sure if any charges are being filed against the child's father. Reporting live in Pekin, I'm Andy Weber, Heart of Illinois, ABC.
Yep,
Thank you, Andy.
And that's
Tazewell County
part
State's
of what
Attorney
my
Stuart.
argument is I believe that the father might have known something, but again, I want to show you guys this picture one more time. I had to kind of enhance it a little bit. Y'all can see an open heart, and we're glad that we got justice in this story, but like I say, I think that there's more to it. But nonetheless, that's at least what we get for now. But thank you guys so much for listening to this story, okay? Thank you. And yes, guys, I saw it buffered. I don't know why I did that. I just got these people out here to work on this internet 2 days ago, and they swore to me that the internet was going to be good. I don't know why I just did that.